Welcome to today's video. My name is Andrea, and what I do is I am a specialist, and what I do is look at the relationship between movement and learning and use deliberate movement to bridge the learning gap that we often see in kids with learning disabilities or learning challenges, or even with adults. So welcome. Let's get started. Today's video, I'm going to talk to you. Last week I touched on one of the students I had, and I wanted to go in a little bit deeper on how the brain works. And when I say deeper, but just give you an idea of, on a very macro level, how the brain works and how that can show up in learning in ways that are slightly challenged. All right, so basically, and you know me, I like to refer to my sources. So as always, I've got my Dr. Carla Hannaford books handy. So all those years of reading her stuff, I can remember. But I'm also looking at this one today, Brain Rules. And this is John Medina. And I'm going to read something from this in a bit, but give you a little bit of background to what he's talking about. So he refers to something called the triune brain theory. And I think this theory is fantastic for people just to get a really good sense and understanding of how your brain works, how a child's brain works, and then the implications when you're learning. I think that this is really, really important for every single teacher to know, for every parent to know, and most parents right now are teachers, so this stuff is good stuff. All right, so right at the base of our brain, we have the brain stem, and it's often referred to as the reptilian brain. Sort of, if you think of evolutionary, these reptiles and then mammals and then humans, and our brain represents that evolution, where the reptiles have the brain stem. And the brain stem is responsible for just keeping us alive with really basic function that we don't need to think about, okay? Then on top of that, I've got the happy face here because we have the midbrain, and it's a sort of memory center and emotion center, okay? So this part of the brain actually is sort of that amygdala is in there. There's anger, there's rage, but there's also happiness. There's short and long-term memories in here. And yeah, emotion. And you think about mammals, they can have emotion too. But where we're human is this top part of the brain. I've made it green by design. It's all good. And it's what separates us. And this part of our brain allows us to really think critically and to analyze, to synthesize, to think of perceived danger, decide whether or not it's real or not. So let's talk a little bit about that. In general, human brains, by design, our human brains, we are constantly searching for a safety zone. Is there danger? Is there danger? So our mind is always looking for a connection to what we already know, establishing a sense of safety. Right? And once the sense of safety is established, then we allow ourselves to be curious, to enjoy learning, and that sort of thing. But if we sense danger, then we go into that fight or flight, which we all know about, that survival, and energy to our higher level thinking, that rational, that reason, it's blocked. And we are now down thinking about how to run from the tiger and how to protect ourselves. So how does this all correlate to learning in a really, really basic way? So there's a lot more to this, but I'm just giving you a nice introduction to think about. Essentially, sometimes you might wonder why teachers spend a lot of time at the beginning of the year developing these relationships and getting this sort of heart connection with students. And the good ones do that, and I'll tell you why. And I want you to think about that as a parent teaching your child now, because their sense of safety is so important for optimal learning. And when they sense danger, which could mean, I don't know what this is, I don't know how to do it, the last time I tried to do this, other people in my class could do this, I couldn't do this. You know, that monkey brain going where we're not having that nice heart connection. There's no more curiosity anymore. We're going into survival. Learning is compromised. And I just want to read you from this book. If someone does not feel safe with a teacher or boss, he or she may not be able to perform as well. If a student feels misunderstood because the teacher cannot connect with the way the student learns, the student may become isolated. And this lies at the heart of the student's failure. And he goes on to get, this is a pretty big book, but essentially we need to understand that when we're in this fight or flight, and we can go there quickly. We can go there quickly because we're trying to protect our ego, right? Our kids are doing this. We're doing this. And learning is harder. So I guess what I would like to suggest to parents right now, and I'm a parent too, so I'm talking to myself as much as I'm talking to you, really think about connecting with your own heart and having a really beautiful heart rate variability within yourself, so that when you're presenting material or when you're setting expectations or when you're doing new learning, you allow yourself to be curious and you allow your child to be curious. Let go. I know that you want your child to be at the end of the alphabet when you're starting at A, but be curious about each letter along the way, because that's really going to make a big difference in how they learn and how they retain, actually. Because remember, those long-term memories are in this part. And if they're shut down and in survival, it's like they're operating without the emotion or the cortex. They're just operating from survival. And it's just not a place to learn. And so if you notice, and I noticed this yesterday in my own experience with my own children, if I noticed that I was kind of going to a place like this, I think I was letting my brain get ahead of me and thinking about too many things. I was at Z before I was even at B in the alphabet, so to speak. If you feel that happening, then just take a break and take a deep breath and connect to your heart and allow for more connection. Physiologically, there's a reason why students have difficulty learning, and sometimes it's exacerbated by us. So try to be that loving energy that then they can feel safety and they're not going into that back stress brain. Another thing I want you to think about is sometimes a student will, or your child will react in a certain way and ask you a question that really frustrates you. But my suggestion would be, what I've found over the years with my own kids and with my students, is my best response, and I'm not always really good at this, but it's great to remind myself, my best response is to ask why the question was asked, because then I can get a deeper understanding. Often it's quite brilliant the way a child's mind goes to the question, but our adult mind doesn't see the brilliance unless we ask how they got there. Anyway, thank you for joining me today. Stay well, breathe, connect to your heart. Take care.